Welcome back to Hobby Jogger Elite, and welcome back to the Fall Marathon Build series where I am documenting all of my training, all of the lead up to a November 12th marathon that I will be running at the D&L Marathon this coming November. In addition to that, just going to be going through a sort of weekly breakdown every week as I have done for the past 2 weeks. So if you have not watched anything up until now, which again is the third episode, feel free to refer back to or watch episodes 1 and 2, which are probably recommended somewhere below, or you can find them in the Marathon Build playlist on my channel. I don't know if I've talked a ton about what my goals are when it comes to this marathon. And I haven't actually talked yet about what I'm sort of aiming for when it comes to both training and on race day, which is sort of intentional. I, in my past 3 marathons over the past 2 years or so, have always really held myself to a pretty stringent standard when it comes to an exact time goal. And of course, one of the seems to be introductory goals to someone who is trying to run, I guess, quote unquote faster for a marathon is to go sub 3 at the recreational level. And that is something I've tried to do, frankly, with each of my first 3 marathons. I have fallen short with each one of those, but as I've sort of talked about since the first episode of this series, I feel as though I started this training block in a better place fitness-wise than I was at any point during any of those training blocks, even at the peak points in those training plans. So I feel like I'm starting from a better place than I ever have been at before. I definitely still want to go sub 3. That is sort of a goal in the back of my mind when it comes to this upcoming marathon in November. But ultimately, I don't want to sell myself short if fitness-wise I currently am in or end up being in a place that could potentially put me in a better spot than just, running 2 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Usual, shooting for 6:51 a mile for that sub 3 marathon pace. I'm in a better spot than that, then I'm certainly gonna go for it. I believe in setting goals that sort of intimidate and scare you a bit at the outset, but I don't always pay a ton of attention to the various data-based predictions when it comes to my Stride FootPod, for instance, or the Coros Race Predictor. Even VDOT calculators based on past race results, there tends to be some error in those, and obviously human error comes into effect on actual race day throughout training. Whatever it might be, those paces, those times, those predictions, you can't guarantee anything when it comes to running. But I think it's worth using them as tools, using them as guidance. So as it sort of stands, I've been wearing the Stride FootPod, since I think 2021, and based on my historical data, but more so the past 90 days of data, it currently has me at a marathon race prediction of 2 hours, 48 minutes and 56 seconds, plus or minus about 3.5 minutes. So pretty much anywhere from a range of 252 to 245. 245, certainly not happening. I think anything sub 250 is also extremely intimidating and a very lofty goal, considering my previous PR being 3 hours and 6 minutes. So I do pay attention to the predictor, I would say, with Stride more than other predictors, because it takes into account, what power looks like on certain elevations. You can put in the race map and it will predict, given all the undulations, the elevation gain, the time of year, what your historical training is at, temperature and weather wise, and how that stacks up against when the actual race date is. There's a lot that goes into the race predictions for Stride. So that again is an insane prediction that I don't think I am currently capable of. I hope to someday be capable of a time like a 2:48 marathon, but it is certainly interesting to take a look at something like that. When it comes to Coros, my current running fitness is a 93.9, which definitely went up after some of my 5K training, my 5K racing, and my current prediction for a marathon is a 2:49.58, so 6:29 a mile, which again, pretty intimidating, but also right in the same ballpark as that Stride prediction which again is pretty fluid, is moving around all of the time, and is definitely an interesting data point to take a look at when it comes to what I may be capable in, 3 months down the road, as opposed to like how I'm feeling on a regular basis in this like 75 to 90 degree Fahrenheit weather when it's almost 90% humidity every day here in the summer. Definitely, interested to see what the fitness sort of feels like when the temperatures sort of cool down a little bit. So the last sort of data point, the VDOT calculator, based on my most recent 5K result, which again was in pretty unfortunate conditions when you're trying to run fast, but that's no excuse for summer racing. An 18:15 5K has me at an equivalent or a prediction of 2:54.49 for the marathon, 6:40 pace, and a 1:23.44 for the half, 6:23 pace. So I'm sort of taking a look at these things, taking them into consideration, using them as ways to inform how I'm training, how I'm sort of dialing in these paces for specific workouts when it comes to what my current fitness is as I'm working through this training plan. I just think they're interesting things to take a look at. So beyond that, we have another week of training to recap here. This was a record-setting week for me when it comes to mileage, and it's particularly notable that I set this record in weekly mileage while on vacation. So I tried to find time early in the morning, every morning, while we were on a family beach trip over the course of the past week, and get as much mileage as I could, and evidently mission accomplished in doing so. I started off last week on Monday, since the schedule was sort of being moved around during the previous week. I usually don't work out on a Monday, but just so happened that I had 2 easy days stacked up before that Monday. It was time to work out again. So did 2x200, 6x1K, and 2x200 pretty much on Ocean Highway, Route 1 that runs through Ocean City, Fenwick Island, out to Bethany Beach in those sort of like Delaware Beach area. If you've ever run in that area or like in any beach town, it's usually very flat. So I don't love running on like completely flat terrain all the time. I feel like it messes with my mechanics, and I definitely missed the hills throughout this week of training, but during workouts, can't complain too much. It's definitely easier to run workouts on that flat terrain. So did just over 12 miles for this workout, just beyond 90 minutes, pretty much no elevation gain. And yeah, the workout went about as well as it could have. The 200s were pretty slow to start out because, that's usually how a workout begins. Ran those in 42 seconds each respectively, and then ran the Ks in 3:35, 3:32, 3:31, 3:36, 3:33, 3:34, and then closed the 200s a little bit quicker in 38 seconds and 40 seconds. And those weren't exactly 200 meters. I just put in 0.13 miles, which is a little bit further than 200 meters, but that's neither here nor there. And I was happy to start off the week with that. I can definitely tell that like what I'm trying to do at VO2 max pace is like effort wise and heart rate wise reflecting more in like a threshold manner. Like I think Koros told me that this was more of a threshold type of workout than it was VO2 max. So it's good to see my fitness sort of like meeting that pace at a sort of threshold level for 3.5 minute reps. I was genuinely trying to go faster. I was running 320 to 325 for K reps during my 5K training not so long ago, like a couple of weeks ago. The higher mileage definitely trying to like eke out as much speed during those reps and not getting quite as much out, but that is to be expected. Felt good about that workout, good enough to double later in the day with my brother who was on my trip with me. I ran a half marathon with him not so long ago in the spring, if you recall, if you've been around the channel for long enough, running another one with him in September. So doubled with him, did a little over 4.5 miles, just a nice, very easy 8:43 pace. I think the average heart rate was like the mid to high 120s. 127 beats per minute. Kept it very easy with him and with my fiance Lauren on the bike. So that was a fun little double, 16.5 miles on the day. Can't start a week better than that. Tuesday then did a nice easy run on you know, pretty much the same route, 7.5 miles, 7:55 pace, just under an hour of work. And yeah, kept it nice and easy, progressing from 8:30 pace down to 7:30 pace, trying to keep the heart rate in, you know, maxing out in the low 140s, mostly in the 130s throughout it. Did pretty much the same thing, same route the next day. That's the nice thing about vacation. You can just kind of hit those same routes over and over again. Did 10 miles this time, 8:02 average pace, about 80 minutes of work in the New Balance Rebel V3s, which are quickly approaching 100 miles at this point. Again, tried to keep it nice and easy. Went from 9-minute pace down to 7:30. And again, tried to keep things in the low 140s at the absolute highest with these easy runs. And yeah, those were, you know, a nice 2 easy days to get in, because the next day was another workout, 12 miles on that same exact route. Yet again, more threshold reps. So I did a 3-mile, 2-mile, 1-mile threshold workout, where I think I warmed up 3 miles, then did 3 miles at threshold, 3-minute break, 2 miles at threshold, 2-minute break, 1 mile at threshold, and then cool down to 12 miles. And yeah, this was definitely a nice morning to work out. It was the coolest morning of the whole entire trip. Again, nice flat route. And yeah, just over 12 miles. Did the first 3 threshold miles at 6:10, 6:06, and 6:05, keeping all of them in the, you know, low to mid to high 160s for heart rate. Then did the next 2 miles at an average pace of 6:06 in 12 minutes and 12 seconds, pretty much the same sort of range for heart rate. And then I just wanted to be able to close hard. And as your rep sort of gets shorter, your heart rate doesn't have as much time to climb. So I decided to go a little bit quicker, try to really push for that last mile. Closed in 5:53, which felt really great to be able to run that fast that late in the workout. Cooled down 2.65 miles to 12 miles. And yeah, by that point, I kind of knew I was on path to a record-setting weekly mileage week for me. The next day, did another 8-mile easy run on that same exact route yet again. Kept things easy in the Brooks Hyperion tempos, and then came back on Saturday after driving home that morning. Got in a late morning run at 9:30, a little beyond 6.5 miles. Didn't mean to do 6.66 miles there. Average pace of 7:58 in the New Balance More V4s, which I'm approaching 400 miles in at this point. Still loving those very, very much. Kept things nice and easy. Felt very fresh on this run for whatever reason. I usually feel terrible after like a long drive home after traveling, but felt pretty great on that run. Kept things short because I had my long run on Sunday, last run of the week, which is the featured workout for this week. So there was no workout, no structure to this long run. It was just easy to steady 19 miles on the plan. And that's exactly what I did. Decided to do it on some rolling hills. So got in 19 miles at an average pace of 7:26, 656 feet of elevation gain over the course of 2 hours, 21 minutes, 42 seconds. Won't talk too much about this one because you're about to see some decent amount of footage from it, but felt great throughout this run. Wasn't the absolute coolest of runs. It was a very humid early morning, but I'm definitely happy to get that big chunk of mileage in at the end of the week. Got me to 80 miles on the week. And yeah, just tried to sort of manage a very steady effort on some rolling hills throughout that route. Won't talk much else about it because you're about to see the footage from that. Overall, great week of training. Again, set my weekly mileage record at just a tad over 80 miles with 10 hours, 21 minutes of running, only 1,000 feet of elevation gain, most of which was on my long run because that's what happens when you go to the beach for the week. So without further ado, let's take a look at the long run. Good morning. It is Sunday morning, a little after 6:30 a.m. Another long run. Goal is to go about 19 or 20 miles today. And beyond that, there isn't much of a goal. Just sort of keep things easy or steady or aerobic. If I'm really feeling up to it towards the end of the run, maybe we'll progress down towards marathon pace with a little bit of a fast finish. But I'm happy to just keep things honest, keep things easy to steady during this run. It'll be well over 2 hours, and during this time the goal is to actually take 4 gels. I've brought 3 or 4 gels with me on each one of my long runs, and I have yet to take every single gel I've taken with me. So the goal is to actually take all the gels, as well as this full serving of Science and Sport electrolytes. Another new pair of half tights have entered the rotation. I'm trying out the Rabbit Speedsters today. Heard good things about them. 2 side pockets and a big back pocket for storage, so could definitely fit a good 6 gels in this. Probably could squeeze 7 in there, so gonna see how these feel on a bit of a warm morning 19 or 20 mile run. About 3¼ miles in, a little over 5K. I'll throw the mile splits on the screen here so far. Don't feel great, don't feel bad. It's just kind of like a meh day for me so far. But yeah, usually on this upcoming 4th mile split, I would take my first gel. Gonna take my first gel at mile 5, but then as per usual from there, take a gel every 4 miles. So if all goes to plan, gonna take a gel at mile 5, mile 9, mile 13, mile 17 today. And we do have 4 different gels, so they're all made of different stuff. They all create or release energy according to their marketing in a different way. So hopefully it's not a recipe for disaster in my stomach. Just hit mile 5, so first gel of the day, an orange UCAN Edge. Never had this kind before. Seems to be less calories, less carbs than the others, but claims to sustain energy and refuel effectively, or even more effectively. So let's find out. Ooh, gonna give that like a 4 out of 10. Very tart, very sour. Not a big fan of the consistency. These gels are huge. So I have another different flavored one coming up here soon. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to that anymore. Past 9.5 miles beyond 15K, taking the UCAN Strawberry Banana. You can. Can I? We'll find out here. Okay. This one's a little burny, going down the throat. A little better than the orange. Very banana-y, tastes very artificial, tastes like medicine. I'm gonna give the Strawberry Banana a 5.5 out of 10. Exactly 21.5 kilometers in, about 13.4 miles, about to take gel number 3. The Goo salted watermelon. I really don't like this one. I've tasted it before, so no surprises here. I've grown to not like the consistency, but it has one of the best sort of sodium contents when it comes to gels across the market, and has a bit of caffeine in it. I'm gonna take it here, but I already know my rating. This is like solid middle of the road, 6 out of 10. All right, at about 17.3 miles, was gonna take the Huma gel here, but it's only gonna be a 19-mile run. I don't need one more gel for 1.7 more miles. I also just had to save a dog from off the road during this mile, which significantly slowed me down. So just trying to get back in a rhythm. And yeah, gonna probably be right at 19 miles at the end of this one. 19.06 miles later, we are done. 2 hours, 21 minutes, 42 seconds. Average pace of 7:26, 102% Coros performance score, average heart rate of 149, pretty much right where I wanted it. I usually want steady efforts between like 47 and like 150, you know, somewhere high 140s, low 150s. So 149, perfect. 19 miles, plenty of steady effort in there. So happy with that run. That puts me at 80 miles for the week, which is a back-to-back weekly record after going just under 74 last week, which was my record. Now 80, that is a new record. So not a big fan of the UCAN gels. Goo gave me gastro distress almost immediately, so saved the Huma for another day because they are currently the front runner for my marathon gel of choice in November. So that is everything for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, this featured long run. We'll catch up next time. Peace.